So once that all our dimensions and dimensions values have been set up, we can start using them in the system. Now remember what I said in the introduction, the more dimensions we use, the more complex and also the more error-prone our daily use of the system can become. Now, we will of course do everything to prevent this, and there are a couple of some very interesting setup features that we can apply in order to facilitate the use of these dimensions. And the first one that we have a look at are the globals and the shortcut dimensions. So by going to the general ledger setup, which I will do in a moment, we can specify up to 8 shortcut dimensions and the 2 global dimensions. Now, to show you what the benefit of these shortcut dimensions can be, I will first make an example without using shortcut dimensions. So here in the application, suppose that I'm selling to a new customer. So I will click on sales orders. I will create a new sales order. I will assign a number, there we go, and I will create a new customer. So this is my customer, let me call it training dimension. So I've already selected a customer template, which means that we already have the required posting groups. So I will select a country code, so Great Britain, for example, so the same country as my demo company, and you can see here the posting groups. So there we go. So this is my new customer, so we're selling to this customer. So if I now click on OK, and if I look for the customer, I can see it here, training dimension, and we can start selling to the customer. So here on the lines, let's sell 2 different items. So the first one that we sell is, for example, 1900S, which is a chair. We will sell from location blue, for example, 8 pieces. And then the second one, or the second item that we will sell is, for example, let's see, I think it starts with 70, yeah, there it is. So for example, black paint. And in this case, we will also sell from location blue 10 cans of black paint. Okay, so there we go, a very simple sales order. And suppose that we are not using dimensions, my sales order is ready. I can release it, I can post it, whatever. But now as a sales order processor, I have to remember to assign the correct dimensions. Now, you can assign dimensions from 2 different places in a document. You can assign them from the header and from the lines. Now, when would you assign from the header, when from the lines? Well, that's quite simple. If a dimension is general for all the lines, then it's easier to assign it from the header. Now, we'll have to take into in consideration that the dimensions on the line are the most important, because why do you want to use dimensions in general? Well, to use them in sales and purchase reports, and the sales and the cost is coming from the line, you see. So I will have to make sure that the dimensions on the line are the correct dimensions. But again, assigning them from the header can help me to assign dimensions to the lines more efficiently. Take now, for example, customer group and area. So these items, so the sales of these items should be assigned to the correct customer group and the correct area. Okay. But instead of entering these line by line, it's more efficient to enter them on the header, because all the lines should have the same customer group and the same area. So if I now go to navigate, I can go to dimensions. I can enter the first dimension I would like to assign. So for example, area. In this case, we're selling to area 30. I will assign a second dimension, which is customer group. And suppose that this customer belongs to the medium business. So there you go, I've assigned 2 dimensions, and now if I click on close, you will see that the system will ask me to update the lines. And by clicking on yes, all my sales lines in this case will now have these dimensions and these dimension values, you see. And again, because they should all have the same customer group and the same area, this is the most efficient way of assigning these dimensions, of course, without the additional setup that we will see in the following lessons. But in some cases, it also might be necessary to assign dimensions on a line level. So for example, Kronos is using a business group dimension. So the first item belongs to business group furniture, the second one to business group industry. So that's something which is then typical per line. We have to assign this on the line level. So let's do this. I will go here to line. Next, I will look for dimensions. And I can now assign dimensions, but specifically for the selected line. And by the way, here you can see the 2 dimensions that we have assigned from the header. So let me do this. In this case, I will go to business group and I will specify business group office. There we go. So, and now office is only available or is only valid or applied to the first line, because for the second line, I would like to use another business group. So I will also add here a 3rd dimension. So business group. But in this case, I will select industrial, because paint belongs to the industrial business group. Okay, so there we go. And so this is now how you can assign dimensions on a header level and on a line level. But of course, although it might not be very difficult, it's not very efficient, because there could be some things that could be better, like dimensions that are retrieved automatically. But also assigning dimensions directly on the line, not having to go to an underlying page, clicking on all these different buttons. So it could be a lot easier if I can add dimensions as a column and then assign them directly on the line. And that's typically what shortcut dimensions will do. So now that we had a look at how to use dimensions in the unstructured way without the additional setup, let's have a look at how we can improve this usage. And again, the first thing that I would like to do is having dimensions available as columns in, for example, sales, purchase documents, and so on. Now that's something I can do by going to the general ledger setup. So let me do this. So in here in the general ledger setup, if I scroll down, you can see here the dimensions fast step. And let me click on show more. There we go. And so here you can see that we can specify up to 8 shortcut dimensions. Now, the definition of a shortcut dimension is a dimension that I can choose or that I can show as a column in a page, for example, a sales line, a purchase line, or a journal. So we can select up to 8 shortcut dimensions, but the first 2 shortcut dimensions are always the 2 global dimensions. Now, what is a global dimension? Well, a global dimension is a dimension that is maintained on the GL entry level. So let me go to the chart of accounts just to show you an example. So I will go to an expense account. So I will take office supplies and I will go to ledger entries. So, and let me remove this fact box. There we go. So here you can see my general ledger entries with posting date, the GL account number, so all the basic fields that we should have available, but also the department and the project code. And these are the 2 shortcut dimensions of Kronos. So they've chosen department and project as their 2, global dimensions, not shortcut. They're 2 global dimensions, which means that when posting, the system creates general ledger entries and will write the 2 global dimensions directly on the GL entry level. And that can make a big difference in financial reporting and analysis, because creating a financial report on one of these global dimensions is very easy for the system. It's simply applying a filter on the GL entry table, you see. But you can only see the 2 global dimensions here on the GL entry. So all the other dimensions are not available here. We can find them in underlying pages, such as the dimension set entry table, which makes it in the reporting a little bit more complicated to report on. This is, by the way, covered in Finance Advanced in Microsoft Dynamics NAV, these reporting functions. But that's important, the big difference between the 2 globals and the rest. And if I go back to the general ledger setup, there we go. If I scroll down to the dimensions again, so you can see the 2 global dimensions, which again by default are shortcut 1 and 2. So very important. In real life, your 2 most important dimensions, so the ones that you use most on a daily basis or on a reporting basis, whatever, should be your 2 global dimensions. You can set up your global dimensions by clicking here on the Change Global Dimensions action in the ribbon, and there specify these dimensions. Now, although this is not difficult, this is not something that you want to do each day in real life, because this can be a rather time-consuming batch job that can lock quite a lot of tables. So this is not something that you do on a daily basis. It's not something like, okay, now we have department project, let's now have a look at customer area, then switch back to department project. That's not the idea of a global dimension. You set it up and it's there to remain there. Okay, so again, shortcut 1 and 2, the 2 globals, and then for the rest you can specify the 8 or the 6 remaining shortcut dimensions as you want. So we have customer group, area, business group, sales campaign. For example, if I would like to add purchaser, which is also an existing dimension that Kronos is using, I can very easily do this. So up to the 8 shortcut dimensions. So what is the difference now between using shortcuts and the previous example? Well, let's make a new example similar to the previous one. So I will go to sales orders. I will click on new to create a new sales order. I will start in the same way with the same customer. So let me look up the customer, probably at the bottom of the customer. Yeah, there it is, the training dimension customer. And we can start in the same way. We can specify, for example, that this customer in this case now wants the London swivel chair and so on. So exactly the same. However, what we can do now is go to choose columns, and we can start adding these shortcut dimensions as a column. So I can go, for example, if I scroll down here to the shortcut dimensions, and you recognize the dimensions that we just saw. So we saw, for example, department, we had customer group, area, business group, and so on. And now by adding these dimensions, you will see that when I'm entering the line, I can just stay on the line. I don't need to go to an underlying page. I can enter all the information that is required for this line, including the dimensions that in this case you will find at the back of the line. So I can say, for example, that the customer group is medium. There we go. That the area code is 30, and the business group in this case, we chose office in the previous example, and so on. You see, so this already is a small improvement because it will allow me to work more efficiently. So I can stay on the sales line, I can focus on the information, and by moving the columns a little bit to the front of the line, for example, you also have a visual check, so you can see if these dimensions fields have been entered or not. So that will already improve the usage a little bit. We're still not there because we can still forget dimensions, assign the wrong dimensions. But compared to the previous example, this already is a step in the good direction.